This 36-year-old Kevin Costner movie is way better than fans remember. The modern idea of Kevin Costner is vastly different from what it was back in the 1980s. Kevin Costner might be most known today for his long-form vanity projects like Yellowstone and the four-part Horizon, an American saga, but he was at one point an adaptable Swiss Army knife of an actor and filmmaker. He dabbled in everything from disaster films to mob thrillers, all the way to classic comedies. But since the beginning, he's been particularly involved with two specific subgenres. He made his interest in Western epics known from the very beginning, with Dances with Wolves, JFK, and The Postman, but he also found a second niche that he managed to make entirely his own. Kevin Costner is synonymous with the baseball movie, and for good reason. Field of Dreams is among the most iconic films ever made. The film is endlessly quotable in everything from casual conversation to Academy Award monologues, but it's not the only one he's made. There exists a fierce debate among fans about which of the four Kevin Costner baseball movies is the absolute best. The answer is hotly contested, but the standout is clear. Bull Durham, his 1988 romance bout, might just be the most impressive, varied, and rewatchable of the bunch, and it deserves to be remembered. Bull Durham is a 1988 baseball-centric film that should undoubtedly be labeled as a romantic comedy above all else. The film is a star-studded romp through the world of minor league baseball, starring Kevin Costner, Tim Robbins, Susan Sarandon, and more. The Kevin Costner-led film is directed by Ron Shelton, who has made himself known for sports classics like White Men Can't Jump and Tin Cup, but there's a distinct quality to his films that places them above the simple sports movie label. Ron Shelton doubles as director and screenwriter and, in the process, is able to perfectly translate his one-of-a-kind charm to the screen. Fans can only hope that Bull Durham doesn't get remade like White Men Can't Jump did. Bull Durham follows veteran catcher Crash Davis as he gets brought up to the minor leagues. While initially resistant to playing in the minors at his old age, he gives in when the managers plead their case. They ask him to mentor young prodigy Ebby Calvin, Nuke LaLoosh, and alongside baseball savant Annie Savoy, he pledges to bring the young neophyte to the majors. Along the way, however, the two men are both thrown into a love triangle and pseudo-romance with Annie, which makes their relationship deeply complicated. Annie teaches Nuke to relax, to trust his catcher, and to not overthink, but in the process, Crash might get left behind. The film follows the structure of a typical sports film for a good portion of it. Crash and Nuke bicker. Nuke learn a valuable lesson. The team goes on a winning streak, and the rug is pulled out from under them. It's a largely ironclad structure, a point A to point B that has been reused countless times for wonderful results. It's towards the end of the film where Bull Durham becomes truly special and differentiates itself from the typical sports movie. Towards the end of the film, Nuke gets called up to the show, and Crash is cut from the minor league team. Opposite fates, one tragic, one blissful. Crash's only solace comes from Annie, and when he shares with her his tragic fate, the pair finally get together. The final 20 minutes or so of the film are a pitch-perfect romance. Sensual, tender, and subtle, and all credit goes to Shelton, Sarandon, and Costner. Kevin Costner has long cemented himself as a Hollywood legend. The man has 2 Hall of Fame careers under his belt, one as an actor and one as a director. While he was, and likely still is, an acting Swiss Army knife, his sensibilities have to lie somewhere. When looking at the over 90 films across his illustrious career, less than 10 of them are comedic efforts. Costner's other baseball outings, Field of Dreams, For Love of the Game, and Chasing Dreams, are all played pretty straight. While those films might have fantastical elements to them, Costner's central performance is dramatic through and through. Despite his overall lack of experience in the comedy genre, Kevin Costner brings a next-level performance. With next-level line deliveries and subtle, calculated looks to the camera, Kevin Costner lives up to his reputation as a Best Actor-nominated performer. Kevin Costner isn't the only Academy Award-nominated performer in the cast. Susan Sarandon is the best actor in any and every film she participates in, and Bull Durham is no different. Sarandon's performance is varied, comedic, and layered in its own right, but she truly shines in the aforementioned romantic moments. Sarandon plays across Costner and her real-life ex-boyfriend Tim Robbins, and every single second of her performance is bursting with passion. Aside from her romantic, lustful performance, she also executes a flawless Southern accent. Her accent in the film is so flawless, in fact, that many audience members believed she was Southern all along. Sarandon has been nominated for 5 Academy Awards in her legendary career, the most notable film being Ridley Scott's Thelma and Louise, but she finally won in 1996 for Dead Man Walking. Her win in 1996 was a long overdue victory for an actress who deserves to be mentioned with the Meryl Streeps of the world. Fans can only hope that Sarandon lands some roles in prestige projects soon because her star shines far too bright to be relegated to the sidelines. Tim Robbins is a notoriously picky performer. Since the beginning of his career, he has settled for no less than the best, and it has resulted in a nearly flawless filmography. Like Costner, his sensibilities lean slightly towards the dramatic, but he made an exception for such a perfect project. In Bull Durham, Robbins focuses strictly on the comedy and tones down his acting chops one notch. As Nuke, he talks to himself on the mound, wears women's underwear, and throws balls through windows, a dramatic step down from his Oscar-nominated performances. While Robbins is most known for his impassioned Mystic River supporting act, there is a real argument to be made that Bull Durham is his best performance. On the surface, Bull Durham and 2024's Zendaya-led film Challengers have no similarities beyond the sport's subject matter. However, there is one specific moment in Bull Durham that will bring Challengers fans to the edge of their seats. At one point in the film, Annie Savoy brings both Crash and Nuke to her home and sits them down on a couch. Her intention at this moment is to have the 2 star athletes fight over her. While Challengers utilizes this setup to introduce a true 3-way love triangle, Bull Durham opts to use it as a moment to define Crash's character. Some fans have gone as far as to say Bull Durham is Challengers' good ending. Aside from the love triangle setup, the 2 films have more in common. Both films manage to do something that many sports films fail to do entirely. Many sports films wind up feeling boring or tedious due to the monotonous fashion in which they shoot in-game scenes. Challengers and Bull Durham, however, break the mold. Through the use of inventive cinematography and creative directorial decisions, both films manage to be awe-inspiring visual spectacles. Kevin Costner's legacy is ever-evolving as he manages to reinvent himself year after year. His career is full of bold choices and genre-defining performances, but Bull Durham remains as perhaps the perfect encapsulation of his abilities. Bull Durham is a film that transcends the expectations of a typical sports film, flawlessly blending humor, heart, visual audaciousness, and lustful romance. While Bull Durham hasn't quite been forgotten, it has found itself towards the middle of Kevin Costner's filmography rankings, and that's just not enough. The film serves as a reminder of Costner, Sarandon, and Robbins' legendary status. The trio elevated an already impressive screenplay to another level, and that can't be understated. Bull Durham has something for fans, old and new, and it is proof that some movies only get better with time.